Hello, everyone. Blessed be everyone. Welcome to another Mystery Witch School YouTube live. Haven't done a Facebook live for a long time. I apologize for any background noise that may come along because they're using heavy machinery next door and making one hell of a racket. But I couldn't go anywhere else today to get away from the sound. So I'm hoping they're going to have their morning tea or their lunch now while we're having the live. So welcome to all of those of you who are on the live at the moment, still waiting for other people to come on. Today we are talking about consistency in your practice. So we want to talk about how important it is, what is good about consistency, why it matters, some of the reasons why you may struggle with consistency, as we all do, and some practical ways that you can stay consistent in your witchcraft practice. Now, some of you watching this may be very new to witchcraft, or maybe not so new to witchcraft, but you are struggling with practice, knowing where to start perhaps, or what sort of things to do in your practice. Or if I start with, say, energy work, what do I learn next? Because it's good to have a bit of structure to your learning. So to help you with that, I have a free masterclass called How to Start Your Witchcraft Practice. And I'm just going to put a link in the chat, and there's a link in the description field below this video so that you can click on that, go to my website, mysterywitchschool.com, and get the link to that. Hi, Karasu the Dreamer. So if you're watching, join in the chat. If you're watching the replay, welcome to the replay, and join in on the comments. And if you don't know who I am, my name is Sandra, and I am here to help you know more about Wicca and witchcraft, magic, tarot, shadow work, and also just to share with those of you who already are experienced in the craft and experienced with those things, and certainly join in with your experiences and what you know about these topics, particularly the one today about being consistent in your practice. Okay, was that all I need to say? Cool. Okay, let's get going with it, because it might not be a very long live today because of the noise in the background. So I have a question for you. What is the biggest challenge for you in staying consistent in your practice? What's the biggest one? There may be a number of them, but what's your biggest challenge? Do you think that's actually stopping you from being consistent in your practice? So that means doing it regularly, either turning up every day to do a daily practice, or at least turning up 3 times a week to do some kind of spiritual practice. So it doesn't have to be magic, of course, and you don't necessarily need to do magic every day, but doing some kind of ritual, some kind of touching base with yourself, with your spiritual self, with that part of you that is beyond the mundane world, to reconnect with you, to reconnect with spirit, God, goddess, to reconnect with nature. What stops you from being consistent in your practice? Let me know in the comments if you're watching the replay, and in the chat too, if you're on the chat. Okay, so we're going to talk about why consistency matters. And it matters because it builds energy. When you do a daily practice of any kind, whether it's meditation or ritual of some sort, it may just be lighting a candle and honoring the god and goddess, it builds energy because you're focusing on that on a regular basis. So you build energy. So the place that you do your practice in is going to take on the energy of your practice. So that when you walk into that room or go to that corner of the room or wherever it is that you do a practice, you're going to feel that energy, and that energy is going to be of a higher vibration if you're doing practices that raise your vibration. So it changes the energy of the place that you're practicing in. Now, you might like to practice outdoors. You might like to go to a park or to the woods or a beach or a lake or somewhere in nature to practice, it's going to change the energy there too. It's the nature spirits are going to welcome the energy of the practice, and you may even find a sense of company when you are doing a ritual practice or even a magical practice in nature, because the nature spirits will become interested in what it is that you're doing. So we're talking about energy here and raising the energy in the space. Now, when we're building energy, you're deepening the connection to magic. If you're doing the magical practice, you're deepening your connection to the god and goddess if you're working with them or one of them, or a particular deity that you may like to work with, or you may like to work with the elements or whatever spirits you may be working with. You're deepening a connection to them. And you're also deepening a connection to yourself as well, because really what we're doing when we're practicing anything that's of a spiritual nature, and I did put that in bunny ears because everything is spiritual, really. There is no really no material realm. Everything is consciousness, spirit. When we're doing those practices, we are connecting to who we are. We're connecting to our consciousness, to our spirit, to our divine aspects, our divinity, our higher self, our true self, who we really are. And that's why these practices are great to do on a regular basis. Now, daily practice is the best way to do it. Now, that doesn't mean having to do magic every day, but doing ritual every day, just lighting a candle and calling forth a deity that you work with, or the god and goddess, generically, to help guide you through the day, pulling a tarot card, something like that. If you're doing it regularly, preferably daily, and it doesn't have to take long, it could just be 5 minutes a day in the morning, it's going to strengthen your connection to your craft. It's going to strengthen your connection to your intuition, for one thing. You're tuning in to your spiritual self, to your higher self when you do these practices. So it's going to increase your ability to listen to your intuition, especially if you do meditation every day and you work with meditation and still the mind so that you can start to listen to any intuitive messages that come to you. It will help you be more effective with your spell casting because you're getting better at focusing on one thing rather than being all scattered and not being able to focus. You do need to be able to focus on your desire and feel into your desire to do magic, to do spellcrafting. And of course, your spiritual growth is a part of this practice too. The more you do the connecting, the more you're going to feel more connected to all and everything, to yourself, and to a sense of joy and empowerment in your life. So having that regular practice, preferably daily, will help you with all of these things. Now I'm just going to go to the comments. Hi, J-Dog. Okay. Chronic illness, sleep apnea is what's keeping you from your practice. So is that because it's making you very, very tired and very groggy? Or is it just that it's stopping you from sleeping properly, which is making you very tired and very groggy? It isn't easy to do things when you don't have proper sleep. That's for sure. I certainly know about that. And J-Dog says, I started using sandalwood incense for energy cleansing, and I find my spell casting is better and efficient. Yes, well, sandalwood is a wonderful incense to use. It's a very spiritual incense. It's very uplifting, it's cleansing, it's protective, and it helps lift you into a more intuitive state because it's a very calming scent. So it's a scent that people often use for sleeplessness, sandalwood. So it can help put you into that trance state. Making me groggy during the day. Yeah. So when you're not feeling awake, it is hard to turn up and be consistent, for sure. And some of the ways, I mean, even when you're doing a practice and it's small, like a 5-minute practice, the regularity of it is what helps build the momentum. It's what helps build the energy. It's what helps build your sense of connection. So even if you can only spend 2 minutes a day at first, if you are very tired, first thing you do when you wake up, if you just go and light a candle and ask for guidance for the day, or read a tarot card, or if you've got any other cards like affirmation cards, pull one of those and ask for guidance from something like that. And then you can look at that card and think a little bit about how that card might apply to your day that day. It's good to do a morning practice. I know some people do evening practices because they can't fit in the morning practice, but a morning practice is a great way to start your day. And it is better to do smaller, regular rituals than it is to just do one big one every so often, because the consistency is what helps us learn. Our consistency is how our brain learns things, picks things up, and develops habits. And practice really is about developing habits. So it's not so much about doing more, it's about doing what is meaningful to you and sustainable at the same time. And as you get more experienced, you can start to increase the time and maybe do it longer and have more time to maybe sit and meditate for, 20 minutes to half an hour a day. But to start off with, you really only need to spend anywhere from 3 to 5 minutes to get you started. Okay. So some of the reasons why you may be struggling with the consistency can be time constraints. We do work in an environment where work has pretty much dominated our life, and often the work that we do is not necessarily overly fulfilling work, or it may just be very demanding, even if it is fulfilling. It's like the work since the Industrial Revolution has really taken over our life, and we live for work. And we spend most of our life working, and we spend most of our life with the people we work with, if we work with people, more than we do our own families. And so time is something that a lot of people struggle with. When I was working, time was something I had to navigate. I got up at 5 o'clock in the morning, to do everything I wanted to do in the morning before I went to work. And so we have to work out, what are we going to sacrifice? Because the practice is the most important thing really in our lives. Work is important too, of course, because it's the income. But we also have to make way for our practice if we're wanting to keep our sanity and we're wanting to find the joy in life and rekindle our connection to spirit. Other things that may get in the way of family commitments, particularly if you've got kids, if you've got babies, young ones, or maybe even the older ones, maybe keeping you busy. And all of those sorts of commitments can get in the way too. You still have to make time for yourself. When you make time for yourself, you're going to be better at being a family person. You're going to be better with your family. You're going to be better with yourself. You're going to be better with your friends and better with all other people too when you have some time to yourself and you demand that you have that bit of time to yourself. So all of these responsibilities take up most of the day in our modern lifestyle, and these can be something we have to navigate around and really look at, what do I really want from my practice? But I'll talk more about that afterwards and just see what the comments are. What's a good way to meditate if you have anxiety or ADHD? I'll talk about that soon, particularly with the anxiety side of things. Hello, Angeli. Hello, Ernestine. Danielle, thanks for that. I will talk about that when we look at the practical ways to stay consistent. Another one is mental and emotional fatigue. So this can be feeling drained, making it hard to practice magic. So, going back to Karasu, the dreamer, where you're talking about, the sleep apnea making you very, very groggy. Anxiety can do this too. It can make you very scatty, so it's very hard to focus. And the feeling of anxiety is a very uncomfortable feeling. So these things what's going on in our head, so monkey mind, swinging from tree to tree, not being able to have a sense of being able to quieten the mind, and just being fatigued emotionally, feeling drained. Very hard sometimes to practice magic. Difficult to do spell casting when you're feeling tired and you're feeling fatigued, or you're feeling emotionally flat. Very, very difficult. So this is where our emotional caretaking has to come in, and we have to find ways to take care of ourselves emotionally, mentally, emotionally. And that they go together. The mental realm and the emotional realm go together. They then affect the body, but usually the body is affected later. But the thoughts are the things that come first, the beliefs come first, and then our emotions, we're responding to those thoughts, and then we experience those emotions in our body. And we need to take time out to care for ourselves. So even if you are feeling tired, even if you are feeling totally out of not focused at all, making that time every day to light a candle, ask for guidance, and practice meditation, even if you can't meditate, even if you just are totally all over the place, it's the sitting down and practicing it that will help. So these are some things that definitely get in the way. Perfectionism is number 3. A lot of people feel they've got to do everything absolutely perfectly. Every ritual has to be elaborate, it has to be big, there has to be lots of decor, and you're decorating your altar or things like that for every ritual. It doesn't have to be. A ritual can be perfect with just you and a candle, or just you being there and really feeling into what it is that you're doing. That is a perfect ritual. You don't need to have everything perfect. You don't need to have the right colored candles even, or the right scents. It's about turning up for yourself every day. So don't worry about things having to be perfect, because that will definitely get in the way of being consistent. Number 4 is lack of focus or the motivation. And like anything, we do go through periods where we lose interest in the same old practice over and over and over and over again. It can get a bit stale. So sometimes it's good to change your practice, change it up, do something different with it so that it's not the same practice over and over and over and over again. We also have to understand that we live in a very McDonald's kind of mindset these days, where everything has to be instant, everything has to be now. And we're constantly being bombarded with all the social media feeds and or everything when we go onto social media, that we end up training our brain to want dopamine hits all the time. And what that does is it totally distracts us from our purpose. It actually can make us more anxious and lose focus, because we're looking for that dopamine hit all of the time. And when we're trying to turn up for a daily practice every day, it's not going to give us that dopamine hit. It's going to actually calm our bodies down, calm us down, so we're not producing cortisol all the time, and bring us into a place of more equilibrium. So we do have to understand that our modern lifestyle is kind of taking us in the opposite direction of where we really need to be when it comes to our practice. And I can certainly understand that, because YouTube's probably my weakness. It's so easy to just go onto YouTube to look for something and then end up down a rabbit hole somewhere else, and who knows where you end up, because there's always, the algorithm is always throwing things at you that catch your eye, and the dopamine starts to get excited. We're wanting that reward, feeling of reward and excitement, and we have to step away from that and bring ourselves back into equilibrium. So that lack of focus, the motivation too, Sometimes you don't feel motivated. Sometimes you just might be feeling too down or too tired. Ask yourself what is important to you. Why did you start this in the first place? What is it that drew you to the craft? So whenever you're feeling lack of motivation, just ask yourself, well, what do I really want from the craft? What was it that attracted me in the first place? And knowing that whatever it is that you were wanting was most likely going to require you to, turn up for yourself that day. You don't have to sit for long. You don't have to do a long ritual, but still try and turn up for yourself anyway, even when the motivation isn't there. Another one, number 5, is feeling disconnected. So this is when maybe you're feeling like your magic isn't working, or you're going through a tough time on an emotional level. You might be going through actual stress in your life in some way. You might be going through more of a shadow work type stress, where you're going through a dark night of the soul, where you're dealing with a lot of psychological stresses and things that are moving you towards, really trying to figure out what is actually going on inside your mind, inside your head. And these things can all distract you from your sense of connection to yourself. It can be like pinching you off from your practice. And sometimes we can even feel that the practice is dead, or the practice isn't working, because we've pinched ourselves off from who we truly are, because we've got caught up in our emotions. We've got caught up in the world. We've got caught up in our thinking and our worries and all of those things. And it can take quite a bit of effort to come back to connecting again. The way that I connect when I'm feeling disconnected is to go and spend a quality time in nature. So if you can go to nature when you're feeling disconnected and just be with nature, that can help reconnect you again, as well as asking for connection, to maybe listen to music that helps you feel connected to your craft. Music is a great way to reconnect. Various different chants or mantras, or even witchy prayers to connect to various deities, can be helpful during that time. And number 6, another one, and this is probably a one for beginners, probably more so than people who've been on the trail for a while, is just the overwhelm by too many practices. So, you're trying to do too much at once. And that leads to burnout. Okay. I can tell you that it definitely leads to burnout. And burnout is not something that you want, because burnout creates the tiredness because you're not sleeping properly or at all. It can also create anxiety and a sense of hopelessness and helplessness when you're feeling burnt out. So don't try to do too much at once. Just stick with one thing at a time. The reason I created the How to Start Your Witchcraft Practice masterclass that I told you about at the beginning is so that you don't get burnout. It's to give you a plan of how to learn the craft by starting with one thing at a time and then just adding to that. With the Mystery Witch School 101 Academy, which is my 12-month course on Wicca and witchcraft, the modules are delivered to you every month, so that you're not rushing ahead. You have to wait the whole month for the next module, so that you get to practice that module for the whole month before you have to work on the next thing. So I structure these things so that you're not doing too much at once, and you're not becoming too overwhelmed by the practices, because overwhelm is going to stop you from being consistent, and you're going to end up feeling a lack of motivation, confusion, and all of those things that you don't want to feel. Okay. I tend to have less energy this time of year, but I make an effort to connect with the spirits I work with every day. Yes, Tiffany, there's times of the year when we all have our seasons, and it depends on what season is, I guess, your season or not your season. And just working with that, allowing yourself that Giving yourself that flexibility to just do a small practice when you're feeling that way or at that time of the year. Okay. I find using meditation music helps my mind settle. Yes, indeed, it does, Angela. It definitely does. It's good to meditate to the meditation music, and it will help calm the nervous system down too, to a certain degree. Hi, Donna Mios. Helps ease the mind, stop thinking. Yep, arriving late, but wanted to say hello. Hi, Tawny. I'm always getting stressed and have to constantly calm myself down. Okay, we'll talk about that next. Listening to the ego can draw people away from their natural selves. Oh, hell yeah. Our ego will definitely draw us away from who we truly are, because that's its focus is on itself. Its focus is on self-preservation, and it's always looking for something wrong. It's always looking for trouble. It's always looking for danger, because its function is to keep you safe. So the ego is always looking for danger. It's programmed that way. Wintertime over here in America, and I tend to scale back more in winter and be more active in the summer with my practice and other things. Yeah, I'm a bit like that too. I mean, we don't really get winter here where I live in this part of Australia. Um, but the days, of course, are shorter. So the sun does get up later and goes down sooner. And I find that it's harder to get things done in winter because I tend to like to sleep with the way the sun goes. Even just sitting at the altar is a good medicine. Yes, absolutely. It's remembering practice, self-remembering, which is a Gurdjieffian uh, technique, I guess you could say, is to just remember yourself. So even if you don't have time to sit at your altar one day, if you can just be more self-aware that day, like be mindful, like if you are brushing your teeth, being mindful of what you're physically doing, how it feels, what your body feels like when you're doing that, having the shower, just cleansing yourself with the water and imagining that the water is also cleansing you energetically. All these little things that you have to do every day, like, have a shower, eat, that kind of thing. You can bless your food. You can just imagine that as you're eating the food, that it's nourishing you and that it's cleansing you, and do these rituals while you're doing your daily rituals of survival in the world. Even catching public transport, you can use that time to meditate, or that time to just be mindful, or that time to observe yourself in that space. There's lots of things you can do. Obviously, if you're driving, you have to focus on driving safely. But even that is something that requires mindfulness and focus. So that can be something that can train your mind to be very focused and very aware. So when you're driving, you're being aware of everything around you and not allowing monkey mind to talk to you in your head, but being aware of the area that you're driving through and what's around you when you're driving. So to stay consistent, there's some things that you can do. And these are called micro practices. So in 5 minutes or less, and I've already spoken about some of them, like lighting a candle and setting your intention for the day. So what do you want for your day? What would you like as your outcome for the day? Would you like to get a certain amount of work done? Would you like to have a certain confrontation with somebody go well? What do you want for that day? What would be a good outcome for you that day? And just spend a minute, 60 seconds, imagining that happening as if it's already happened. So you are doing a spell, but it's a really quick spell on the fly. Don't necessarily have to light any green candles or yellow candles or anything. You're just using the intention in and of itself. And you might have the same intention every day. You might be building something or wanting to create something. So you may find that your intention is the same every day. That's good. That's fine. You don't have to have different intentions. But that's a way to practice spell crafting without having to do a spell. And you're practicing that every day, and you only need to spend 60 seconds doing that for it to be effective in some way. You can do a single tarot pull for daily guidance. I do that. And if you're feeling stuck, like it's always good when you're doing a tarot for yourself to have an outsider to help you sometimes with the application of the interpretation, or even giving you more in-depth interpretation, because when we read for ourselves, it can be very subjective. And sometimes we can be avoiding the true meaning of the card. So if you don't have a person to give you that feedback, use ChatGPT. It's great at giving you feedback about these sorts of things, what you're feeling, or questions, or anything that you may have. You can even use AI for those things in your craft as well, because it does give you good questions to answer, and it gets you thinking about things. It's actually quite good. So these are little things that you can do. Affirmations, or a simple chant while making your coffee or your tea or your breakfast, or lunch or dinner, however often you eat. Just whispering affirmations into your food. Or if you can't do that because you're in a public space and you don't want people to see you whispering over your food, you just imagine it going into your food through your hands as you're preparing your food, and bringing the practice into your day that way. And a lot of people like to carry small charms or jewelry or particular crystals, and hold on to them with intention throughout the day as well, so that you're getting back in touch with the energy of the crystal and why you're wearing it that day, and you're connecting with your spirituality, and you're connecting with a geological life form and the energy of that geological life form in the crystal. So there's a sense of connection to nature that you're doing just by, I've got an amethyst necklace on, just by holding on to it and connecting with the energy of the amethyst, and having that amethyst help you, maybe calming, intuition, all of those things that amethyst is good at helping you with. If you are struggling with focus because of anxiety, this is a Buddhist advice that I got from a Buddhist, and this is something that really does work well. Sit with your anxiety as if you're sitting with a friend that you've invited for a cup of tea. Anxiety is something we usually want to run away from because it's fear-based. It's linked to fear. It can be linked to anger, but anger is often linked to fear too. So at the base of it all, it's fear. And we're always trying to run away from it because it's such a unpleasant feeling. But if you actually allow yourself to feel the anxiety in the body, the jitteriness, the shakiness, depending on how it manifests for you, it may even be an upset tummy. However it manifests, it could be tension, particularly in the shoulder area. Just allow yourself to observe that as your daily practice. Observe your mind, your ADHD mind. Observe it. Just watch it. Watch it jump around here, there, and everywhere. Just watch it. Your observing self can stand back and watch you having an emotion. It can stand back and watch you having a thought. It can stand back and watch you feeling things in your body, because your observing self, your true self, is not your body. It's not your emotions, and it's not your thoughts. It can observe them. And this is a wonderful practice for everybody to do, not just if you get anxiety, or if you've got an inability to be able to sit still. It is a practice that we all should be doing, is just observing our mind, observing our body, and what does that anxiety feel like in the body, and just watch it. You're just watching it. You're stepping aside and watching it. At first, it will be uncomfortable because the inclination is to run away from it. But as you watch the feeling, the emotion in the body, it actually starts to settle because you're giving it attention, you're watching it. And you're also disconnecting yourself from it as you're watching it. So you're not getting caught up in it by watching it, because you're watching something that is not you. You're watching your mind have an anxious reaction to something. And as you watch the anxiety, you may actually find what you're anxious about, what the fear is. It could be beliefs, it could be habits, um, it could be anything. But if you watch it, that can be your practice, just watching your thoughts, watching your anxiety. The same for sadness, the same for depression. Stepping back and watching it, and getting curious about it. Be curious about this feeling in my body, and just be curious about it, because it is just chemicals going through the nervous system. And I have found that practice personally to be very good. That's why I recommend it too. So integrating magic into your daily routine, as I said before, enchanting your morning beverage or your water. Uh, you can even, if you like to create sigils and draw them with your energy over things. So you may have a special protection sigil that you like to draw over your coffee or tea, those sorts of things. Or if you are Reiki attuned, you may want to do some Reiki symbols over your coffee or tea, or just speak your intention into the coffee or tea or into your food. Once again, the shower, cleansing oneself with every ritual that you do. Every time you have a shower, you're cleansing yourself energetically too. So you're washing away things that are no longer wanted. Uh, and gratitude, being grateful for what you have. Even simple things like being grateful that you have a shower and that you're able to have a shower. Being grateful that you have a roof over your head. Being grateful that you have food to eat. Being grateful for everything that you have. It's just recognizing what you have. Because when you recognize what you have, and this has been something that's been researched by neuroscientists, it actually helps elevate your mood better than ruminating over what you don't have. So when it comes to journaling, they found that mood is enhanced by journaling the things that you're grateful for in your life rather than journaling the things that are going wrong or how you're feeling. And that there was more results with the gratitude in regards to elevating mood and bringing people into a better frame of thinking, so that you're looking at your glass half full rather than it being half empty. You're looking at what you've got and focusing on what you've got, and magically, the more you focus on, the more you get. So if you're focusing on being grateful for what you have, you will get more of that kind of thing. So one of the ways that you can use gratitude is to be grateful for the things you don't have yet, but the things you want. So if you're wanting something that you don't have, feel gratitude as if you already have it. And you can thank the god and goddess for it, even before you get it, as a way of bringing it to you. So that's a little magical hack there. Okay. What can I do if I can't put up an altar? You don't need an altar. Just if you can't put up an altar, don't worry about it. Just sit wherever you can sit, and you can do your practice there. You don't need to light a candle if you can't do that. Just sit, close your eyes, and do it all in your imagination, because everything that is around us that we see as the tangible world is still a projection anyway. So whether you're doing it in your imagination on the astral or whether you're doing it in the projected 3D reality, you're still doing it, and it has the same effect. Just going to say tarot. Just did a tarot reading a few minutes ago. Awesome. Daily tarot is great. Do magic all year long. Winter is a good time for releasing things. Yes, it is. I have to start my bedtime routine now. Okay. Awesome. Okay, so where do we get up to? You're blessing food. Now your commute, I said that before, as you're commuting to work, if you are using public transport, you have the opportunity to do some intention setting and some visualizations or imagining that what you want you already have. You can do gratitudes in your mind, you can do meditation. There's a lot that you can do when you're on public transport. Even if you have to stand on public transport, you can still do work with your intentions on public transport. If you're driving, focus on what's around you and being expansive in what you're observing as you're driving, and it will make you a better driver too. So you can habit stack as well. So turning this into a habit. So attaching a small magical practice to something you already do daily. So that is like the shower thing or the blessing of your food and coffee. You're attaching this small practice to something that you do every day. And so that's already there. All you're doing is just adding this little bit of extra to it. You could say a protection spell every time you put your shoes on before heading out. Bless your shoes to carry you on your journey in a magical way. When you get into your car, I always bring in the archangels around me to keep me safe as I'm driving. So I get in the car and then I invoke the archangels. And that has been, wonderful when it comes to driving. It's also great to remember the archangels and where they are when you've got other drivers on the road who may be tailgating. I will often work with Raphael to move them away. There's uh, there's so much you can do in your daily routines that you can bring magic into and work with those energies, work with the angels when you're out driving, and enchant your shoes, enchant your jewelry. You can enchant your clothes. You can enchant everything if you want to. And these are just ways of getting little magical habits and being connected to your magic on a daily basis. So you could even set a little plan for yourself, like on a Monday, you could set the intention for the week. So that could be your Monday thing. I'm going to set an intention for this week. How do I want my week to turn out? What outcomes am I looking for this week? How do I want to feel at the end of this week? Tuesday, it could be a spell. You might do a quick candle spell. Wednesday, you might meditate with a particular deity or a spirit guide. You might find that Thursday is a good day to maybe do some writing in your journal. Friday, you could do a bit of energy cleansing. So this could be yourself, this could be your home or your tools if you use tools. Saturday could be, a focus on what it is you're wanting to manifest or spell work again. And you could have Sunday as a day of self-care where you're taking care of yourself and just doing things that you enjoy just for the hell of enjoying it, and having that as your sacred self-care day. So one of the main things is to let go of perfectionism. Okay, you don't have to have an altar. You don't need the tools. Your intention is actually the most important thing. Turning up for yourself. Uh, you don't need to be perfect with this. And if you miss a day, don't go guilting yourself either. Just start the next day and pick it up where you left off. Even if you've missed a few weeks, just pick it up where you left off. And, if you fall off the wagon, basically, you get up, dust yourself off, and get back on again, rather than beat yourself up about falling off the wagon, because it happens. The witchcraft wagon, we do often fall off it. It does help, of course, if you've got other people to help you along the path. So if you've got a friend who is also wanting to practice at a regular basis, uh, group, being in an online group, the Mystery Witch School 101 Academy, we have an online group on Facebook. So it's a way that people get to share what they're doing, what they're making, different altars that they do at various different Sabbath times. and even ask questions. So that's if you're part of the Mystery Witch School 101 Academy. And if you don't know what that is, I'll tell you what that is in a minute. Keep a journal is good, even if you don't write much in it. I'm not really a journal person. Sometimes I don't write in my journal for over a month, and that's okay. You could just write notes down in your journal. You could write poems in your journal. Do whatever suits you when it comes to your writing style. If you love writing, then you would probably do elaborate things in your journal. People like me who don't like writing, I might do something that's more uh, poetry, or it might be something that is more symbolic and may not necessarily make a whole lot of sense from a literary point of view, but it's a way to get that I can communicate through writing anyway. You can set reminders, you can have alarms for your daily rituals. If you're trying to do a 10-minute meditation, you could set a timer for 10 minutes so that you know when the 10 minutes is up. So there's all of those ways that you can be supported with what you do. Now, as I said just before, if you do want to learn Wicca and witchcraft with me, I have the Mystery Witch School 101 Academy, and that is designed to get you practicing on a daily basis and to learn as you go. So you get a whole month or more, depending on how long you want to take doing a module, to get those practices up, to learn to meditate, to learn to calm the mind. They're guided meditations, so you're not having to just sit there and try and spend, although some of the training does demand that you do have that mindfulness time with meditation. But they're mostly guided meditations, and you're doing energy work at the beginning. You're learning about the tools. You're learning about casting circles, magic, the sabbats, the lunar energies, all of these things, working with various deities, including Hekate. And you're doing it step by step rather than trying to do it all at once. And you're connecting to yourself in the process. So the way that I teach, I like to give you practices that helps you connect to who you are and connect to your practice and feeling connected to spirit yourself, so that they're not just rituals that you do and you sort of feel, disconnected from. They're designed to get you connecting to you, because you are the magic. You are the most magical aspect of the whole practice. So you need to learn to connect to yourself. And so many people feel disconnected to spirit, to all and everything, and to self. It's just a sense of, I'm not connecting. So Mystery Witch School 101 Academy is to help you connect. So you can find that on my website, mysterywitchschool.com, or you can find it in the comments field below this video, and I've just put it in the chat as well. Okay, anything else? Okay. Yeah, so just to recap, think of consistency as just something small and meaningful action that gets you connecting to your craft on a daily basis. And you can build on that. There'll be times when you can do more and times when you can't do more. And just keep plodding along and doing it. The regularity is what's going to build the connection. Okay. So thank you all for coming along and watching the live. There will be another one next week. In the meantime, have a wonderful time. Enjoy your practice, whatever your practice is, and I'll see you next week. Blessed be.